the heart of this nation, under skies so blue,
there's a spirit that's stirring, values strong and true.
From the mountains to the prairies, from the cities to the sea, we stand for liberty, for faith and family. We're diving deep into the heart of what we believe.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. So we're jumping into something you've flagged for us today. A state-level thing happening with food assistance.
That's right. We got some material, specifically an article from Red State about Arkansas petitioning the USDA.
Exactly. It's a pretty specific request they're making about S&TAP benefits.
Yep. So for this deep dive, we're going to unpack what exactly Arkansas is proposing, regarding junk food and SNOP.
And try to get a handle on what the fallout might be, what this kind of change could mean.
Exactly. We'll look at the details of Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders' proposal, the reasoning behind it.
And also some of the maybe wider viewpoints this whole thing brings up.
Consider this your quick guide to get up to speed on this developing story. It could be pretty significant.
Okay, so where do we start? The article sets some context, right?
It does. The author points out something kind of striking, this paradox, that in the U.S., a wealthy nation, obesity is actually a major health issue, especially among lower-income groups.
Right. And the Red State piece, it definitely has a perspective. It pushes back a bit on some common explanations like, oh, people don't have time to cook, or healthy food costs too much.
Yeah, it questions those assumptions. But the main news hook, the action item here, is Arkansas's petition.
So what exactly did Arkansas ask the USDA for?
Okay, so the article says they formally requested that SNAP benefits can't be used to buy pop soda and candy.
Soda and candy, okay.
And what the article really highlights is that Arkansas is set to be the first state to bring this specific kind of request to the federal government under the Trump administration.
Interesting timing. So let's get into the why. What's Governor Sanders' stated reason for pushing this now?
Well, according to the article, the main goal presented is health. Improving the health of the almost 350,000 people in Arkansas who get SNAP benefits.
Okay, focusing on health outcomes.
Right. And they quote Governor Sanders directly. She says something like, "It is clear that the current system encourages and subsidizes the overconsumption of unhealthy, highly processed, and addictive food and beverages."
Wow, that's pretty blunt language about the current SNAP setup.
It is. Very direct.
So if this petition gets approved, what specifically gets cut off?
Yeah.
What couldn't people buy with SNAP in Arkansas?
Okay, so the proposal, if it gets the green light, is set to kick in around July 2026.
2026. Got it.
And the ban list includes, well, obviously soda, and that means all soda.
Yeah.
Even the diet, no-calorie, low-calorie versions.
Even diet soda. Okay.
Yep. Also, fruit and vegetable drinks that are less than 50% actual juice.
Okay. So things like fruit punch, maybe?
Presumably, yeah. And then there's this slightly broader category just called unhealthy drinks.
Unhealthy drinks. That sounds potentially tricky to define. Does the article elaborate on that?
Not really, no. It doesn't give a specific list for that category. You could guess maybe sweetened iced teas, energy drinks. But yeah, it's a bit vague.
That could be a challenge in practice, defining that line.
Definitely highlights a potential implementation issue. How do
Yeah.
you draw that line consistently?
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's drinks. What about food? Candy's on the list too, you said.
Yes, candy is explicitly banned. And it gets quite specific here. It includes flour-based candies. The article actually uses Kit Kat bars as an example.
Kit Kats. Wow, okay.
And also any candy that uses artificial sweeteners. So it seems they're targeting both sugary candy and the sugar-free alternatives.
Right, covering both bases there in the candy aisle.
Seems like it.
Okay, so that gives us a clearer picture of the restrictions. But then the article points out something that feels, well, a bit contradictory, maybe.
Yeah, you mean the rotisserie chicken thing.
Exactly. The proposal would apparently allow SNAP funds for hot rotisserie chicken.
Yep.
But those aren't usually covered now, are they?
No, typically hot prepared foods are excluded. So yeah, allowing rotisserie chicken while banning diet soda, it does seem a little inconsistent with a purely healthy eating message.
Right. It makes you wonder what the thinking is there. Maybe convenience? A ready source of protein?
Could be. The article doesn't really spell out the rationale for that specific exception, but it does set up the author of the Red State piece to jump in with their own ideas.
Ah, yes, the author's perspective. And they think Arkansas isn't going far enough, correct?
Not nearly far enough, in their view. The author argues that no prepared foods should be allowed with SNAP. They specifically call out things like taken big pizzas.
So a much stricter approach overall,
Much stricter. Their argument seems to be about the fundamental purpose of SNAP.
which they see as,
Basically, a safety net, providing basic, healthy, and this is key for the author, inexpensive food staples, funded by taxpayers, of course.
so less about convenience, more about absolute necessities and cost-effectiveness from a taxpayer view.
Precisely. It's framed as ensuring access to bare essentials, not ready-to-eat meals.
And they don't just stop at what you can buy, right? They have ideas about the whole system.
Oh, yeah, big changes. They propose bringing back paper vouchers.
Paper vouchers, really? Like the old food stamps.
Kind of, yeah, but with a very specific label printed right on them. Government Assistance Food Voucher. Very prominent.
Okay. So making it very visually distinct,
Mhm.
what could you buy with these hypothetical vouchers?
A very restricted list, according to the author. Things like bulk rice, beans, flour, lean meats like turkey or chicken, and for families with kids, milk and baby food. Basically, ingredients for cooking from scratch.
Very basic staples.
Mm,
And not just what you can buy, but where too.
right. The author suggests limiting redemption to major grocery store chains only, no convenience stores.
Okay, why the exclusion of convenience stores?
The author is pretty explicit about the reasoning. They state that receiving this kind of assistance shouldn't be comfortable or convenient.
Wow.
Yeah. They argue there should be a small societal onus attached to using benefits, and they feel the current system is too easy, too integrated.
It's a very particular philosophy about social safety nets.
It is, and it ties directly back to the taxpayer argument.
How so?
The author directly says, quote, "We have every right to limit SNAP recipients to healthy foods, and more importantly for we taxpayers, inexpensive foods." That's a direct quote.
Emphasizing the taxpayer's right to dictate terms based on cost.
Absolutely. And they even point out the article is published on tax day, April 15th, 2025, to really hammer home that connection.
Making that link unmistakable.
Okay.
It's clear where that perspective is coming from, fiscal conservatism and a specific view on welfare.
Definitely. The article also quickly mentions a couple of other related items, just kind of situating this in a broader political context.
Like what?
Well, it notes that RFK Jr. apparently said he'd allow states to ban soft drinks on food stamps. And it also mentions a move by a Trump official to block undocumented immigrants from getting food stamps, framing it as just enforcing existing law.
Gotcha. Just nods to other related discussions happening.
Exactly. Bits of context.
Okay, so let's try to pull this together. The main event is Arkansas, asking the USDA for permission to restrict SNAP purchases, specifically targeting things like soda, sugary drinks, candy, even the artificially sweetened ones.
Right, with the stated goal being to improve recipient health.
But then we have this other perspective, voiced strongly in the Red State article, saying that's not enough.
Yeah, arguing for a much more fundamental overhaul. Think basic, cheap staples, paper vouchers, clearly marked, limited places to shop, all driven by taxpayer cost concerns, and this idea of a societal onus.
So it really crystallizes this tension, doesn't it? How do you help people who need food assistance?
While also grappling with concerns about nutrition, public health costs, and taxpayer money being used for, well, what some consider unhealthy choices.
Exactly. Which brings us to the reflection point for you, our listener. You've heard the details of Arkansas's plan, and one strong counterargument for even stricter rules.
So thinking about all this, what do you see as the pros and cons of these kinds of restrictions on SNP? What are the potential upsides, the potential downsides?
Yeah, thinking about the impact on the people receiving the benefits, but also on society more broadly. Are there other factors, other viewpoints that should be part of this conversation?
It's definitely complex. There are lots of layers here. Health, economics, personal responsibility, the role of government.
For sure. It touches on some really big questions about how we handle poverty, health, and assistance in this country, something to definitely mull over based on what we've discussed from the source material today. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.